Hello, and welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. Today we're continuing our series, Push the Button, review of Lost, the TV show. And this week we're on Season 5. Just one more season left in this intriguing series. Last season, Lost successfully made the transition into the realm of science fiction, with classic episodes like The Constant, and of course, making the island literally disappear in There's No Place Like Home. Season 5 dives in headfirst into weighty science fiction concepts, with time travel playing a major role in the narrative for the entire year. There are risks with introducing time travel into a story that is already as complex as the one Lost has become over the past few years. For the most part, the writers do a good job of keeping the time travel aspect of the story from becoming too complicated. But there is no dispute that it is the driving force of the season's narrative. The first half of the season is comprised of two very distinct storylines. One being Jack Shephard's desperate attempt to reunite the Oceanic Six in order to return the island, and the other being the journey of those left behind as they find themselves traveling through time. The Oceanic Six storyline is definitely the weaker of the two. The story of the 6 hours before they return to the island was weakened by a slow start with the somewhat Hurley-centric episode The Lie. This is an episode that features a little too much of Hugo Reyes' wacky exploits as he transports an unconscious Saeed around Los Angeles. The rest of the Oceanic Six story is essentially a waiting game as we watch the pieces fall into place so that these characters can return to where we really want them to be, on the island. In fact, their return to the island in 316 feels rushed, almost as if the writers realize that the best place for these characters is back on the island. Maybe if they injected more of the mystery into the off-island story that can be found on the island, it would have been much more compelling, but unfortunately only a few stories stand out. Desmond's quest to find Daniel Faraday's mother is an intriguing journey, but isn't given as much screen time as the story deserved. In fact, Desmond's fans might find themselves a little disappointed as he is seriously underused this season. The aptly named Life and Death of Jeremy Bentham is the best episode that takes place almost entirely off the island. The story chronicles John Locke's attempt to convince the Oceanic Six that they need to return to the island in order to save those left behind. It's a tragic story for Locke, who has spent the last 4 seasons in the belief that the survivors are tied to it by a single destiny, but only in death does he finally make people believe. It's a well-scripted story and wonderfully acted by Terry O'Quinn, who does a great job of portraying an interesting transition for Locke on screen. Locke isn't the only one who goes through a transition this season, as Benjamin Linus is forced into a situation that is quite surprising for the character. Without delving into too much detail, the dynamic between Locke and Ben changes quite a bit, but the great chemistry between O'Quinn and Michael Emerson is still as exceptional as it's always been. Linus fans should not be disappointed by some of the great developments for the character this season. On the island, Sawyer and the rest of the survivors left behind are forced to cope with the fact that they are constantly flashing through time, either to the past or the future. The approach taken here is straightforward and clearly laid out in the first episode of this season. You cannot change events in the past. Whatever happened, happened, and couldn't have happened any other way. Faraday acts as the mouthpiece for much of the techno-babble in the early part of the season, with Sawyer playing the part of the everyman, who constantly questions why things are happening the way they are. Time travel is utilized to its fullest here to reveal some of the island's backstory over the last 50 years. Sawyer and company pay a visit to the others of the 1950s and are introduced to past leaders of the mysterious group. We also see some much needed loose ends tied up as we finally learn more about Rousseau and her research team, and we also discover why Richard Alpert visited a young Locke just 1 season ago. As secrets are revealed, and puzzle pieces are slid into place. It's surprising to see just how well everything fits together. Some of this is certainly due to the asset of knowing how many episodes you have left to tell your story. But I'm hard-pressed to find many plot holes in any of the explanations given. Hughes and Lindolf deserve credit for maintaining a watertight narrative throughout most of this season. While the narrative excels at consistently bombarding us with answers, plot developments, and shocking twists, this season finds the exceptional character development of the past taking a little bit of a backseat. It's tough to fault a show that spent much of the first 2 seasons focused solely on character development for not having as much of it now. Still, if you're watching Season 5 for the first time, don't be surprised to find that the frenetic pace of the plot outshadows character development to a certain extent. With 2 seasons left, it's clear that the writers and directors have found themselves with a lot to cover in a short period of time and had to make some sacrifices along the way. However, there are still some great character moments this season, and as I've said, we've spent seasons getting to know these characters. It's time to let the island's rich history come to the forefront. Season 5 of Lost does an exceptional job of building on the story told in the past 4 years. While it doesn't quite find the perfect balance between story and character development that the previous season did, there are plenty of new revelations to keep fans hooked. The addition of time travel to the series gives the writers a fresh and exciting way to delve into the island's history. For those that have already watched Season 5, you don't need to tell me, though, that it's a worthy addition to a great story. And that's our review of Lost Season 5. Let us know what you thought about this season. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Cinema Gold Show. Send us a tweet on what you thought. And we'll see you tomorrow.